This video is brought to you by Dr. Kristen R. Bromley's Guitar Method Book Series and Online Music Academy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Bromley. Welcome to my online academy. I love being here helping you with playing the guitar. In this video, I'm going to explain how we can use a capo when we're playing the guitar and how doing so changes the key of a song, which can be really helpful when, for example, we want to sing a song in a different key than it's written in. And when we use the capo, we can actually use the same chords from the original song, the same chord shapes, but with that capo, we'll be able to transpose it to a new key. So it's really, really handy to know how to use a capo when we're playing the guitar. Of course, we'll also get a chance to jam together on a song using that capo, so it's going to be great. Now, this video does accompany Lesson 3 from my Chords and Harmony Books 1 and 2 method book. So if you have that book, you'll want to turn to page 23 where I talk about and explain the capo. And we'll also be using page 19 because we're going to jam together on Worried Man Blues in a new key. So we've played that song previously because it's part of Lesson 3, but we're going to be doing it in a new key with the capo. Okay, so let's dive in. It's really easy to use a capo, and there's lots of different types, fairly inexpensive ones you can get. All you do with a capo is just stick it over the strings of the guitar, all 6 strings, or if you're playing a guitar that has more strings, you'd stick it over all of those strings, so like a 7 or 8 string guitar. And the best placement, so I've stuck it here at the 3rd fret. What this does is it shortens the length of the guitar neck, so it changes the key. So we're replacing the nut, for example, by placing this capo down in a particular fret, and I've done it at the 3rd fret there as an example. When I put it down, what I want to do is put it far enough back towards the headstock that I have room for my fingers to maneuver, but we want it to be close enough to the actual metal fret bar that each of the strings rings and isn't muted. So you just kind of have to play with the placement, and it really helps to not get right on top of the fret because it usually squeezes the space for your hand, but it helps not to get too far away for the reason I mentioned in getting all of those strings to ring. Now, when I've put a capo on, if I'm going to play the whole song with the capo on, a lot of times I'll retune, just check the tuning in the new key. So that's something that you can do, but a lot of times we don't have time for it, or we don't want to mess with it, or we'll mess with it when the chords don't quite sound right. Maybe the guitar sounds out of tune. So that's as simple as it is when using the capo. I will mention that when you're changing the key and you're just picking, it's good to stay within the first 4 or 5 frets. Once we get to the 5th fret, what happens is we're actually up in ukulele range, and so the chords start sounding pretty high, and sometimes we'll be singing way below the actual chords as we move up on the guitar. So most of the time when you're capoing, unless you want the effect of the higher sounding chords, we're going to be capoing at the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th fret. With the song that we're going to be jamming on, which is Worried Man Blues, I'm going to be placing that capo at the 2nd fret. So we'll go ahead and practice a little bit with it at the 2nd fret. So once I've placed the capo, and if you want to look at page 19 and kind of go back and forth, you can. But we're using G, C, and D7. Those are the chords that we use to play Worried Man Blues. And all the songs that we've played in Lesson 3, we've been playing in the key of G using these chords. We've also had an E minor sneak in, maybe on a song or two. But we're mostly using G, C, and D7. And those are the chords that we're using for this particular song. But once I've put the capo on, I was originally in the key of G, playing my G, C, and D7. Once I've put that capo on, I'm changing the key of a song. So once I put it at the 2nd fret, I can continue to use G, C, and D7. I'm going to place those in front of the capo in the same sort of orientation that I would if there was no capo, but the capo is now the end of the guitar. So now fret 1, for example, is adjusted to what is fret 3, but it's now fret 1. That's how we're going to treat it. So our open strings are now fret 2, and so that changes things a little bit, but as long as I stay in front of the capo the way I would in front of the nut, I can play these same chord shapes. So I had G, C, and D7. It's as simple as that, only now these chords are actually A, D, and E7. So if you want to understand how the transposition works, you got a diagram there on page 23 that has the names of the notes from the open strings all the way up to the 12th fret where things start over. So when we're playing a chord, and all the chords that we're learning right now in the lesson series, the lowest note of that chord, the pitch that is the lowest note of that chord matches the name of the chord. It's the bass note or lowest note of the chord, but it's also the root note, which is the note that the chord is named for. So if I want to know what key I've changed something to, or what chord is now sounding with the capo on, I just need to find what pitch my newest lowest note of the chord is, if that makes sense. So with a G chord, for example, the lowest note is at the 3rd fret on that low 6th string. Now, because of where the capo is at, that lowest note is now, instead of at the 3rd fret of the 6th string, it's at the 5th fret of the 6th string. We've gone 2 frets higher. With the handy dandy diagram you have there on page 23, you'll see that that is an A pitch. So where the lowest note of the chord is a G pitch, naturally with the capo on at the 2nd fret, it's now an A pitch. So now when I play my G chord shape, I'm actually playing an A chord. So with the C chord then, when I put my C chord down, the lowest pitch is at the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Now with the capo on, it's at the 5th fret of the 5th string. And so instead of being a C pitch, it's now a D pitch. So now I'm playing a D chord with my C chord shape. With the D7, our lowest note is the open 4th string, which is a D pitch, but now the open 4th string is actually at the 2nd fret, which is an E pitch, and so that's where I've got my E7 happening. Now, for me personally, where I've placed the capo, I'm feeling a little bit tight in playing the D7, so I could experiment with moving that back just a little bit and see if I still get my pitches ringing through and I'm a little bit more comfortable. So you can play with that back and forth. But that's how the transposition works. If I were to instead move this up to the 5th fret and play my G chord, my lowest pitch of that G chord is now at the 8th fret of the 6th string, and that's a C. If I went and played my C chord, my lowest pitch is now at the 8th fret of the 5th string, and that's an F. And then if I play my D7 shape, my lowest, my open string, is now, on that open 4th string, is now at the 5th fret, which is a G, so I have a G7. So I'd be playing now in the key of C with C, F, and G7. So that's just another example there. So that can help you if you want to understand the transposition. Okay, so it's time to jam together. We're going to play Worried Man Blues from page 19, and we're going to do it with the capo on at the 2nd fret. So we're going to be playing back in that key of A with G, C, and D7. So on page 19, you've got the music there for Worried Man Blues. And you can read it just like we did before, using G, C, and D7 as our chords, only we're actually playing in the new key. And the melody is going to be a little higher. So if we were going ahead and reading the melody, we could read it as well, just like we would if you were actually reading the notation. You could read that, only everything has been shifted up as well, and we could just, it'll transpose it for us. So that starting pitch there, that open 4th string, and we'll be in. We're going to use down, down, up, up, down as our strumming pattern, just as we've done before with this song. It's going to be super fun. We'll go ahead and jam together on this one.
It takes a worried man to sing a worried song. It takes a worried man to sing a worried song. It takes a worried man to sing a worried song. I'm worried now, yes now. But I won't be worried now.
Okay, awesome. Now, besides us using a capo to change the key of a song, to change the key that a song is written in, sometimes songs will be written with the capo being used as part of it. So when that happens, you just got to watch in the different types of sheet music. It'll say capo at such and such fret, and so when that happens, you just place that capo on at that fret. So that is something to be aware of with sheet music, is it will tell you if the capo needs to be used, but we can also use the capo when we want to change the key of a song as well. Okay, I hope this is super fun and super helpful for you. As we continue through the lesson series, we're going to be going into lesson 4 in the method book, so the next videos that come out will be will accompany lesson 4. In lesson 4, we're going to work on the A and E chords. So 2 new chords that we're going to be working on. We're going to continue using the strumming patterns that we've used before. So we just bring in one of those new elements as we go along the way. It's going to be great. Keep having fun with this. Take care, and I'll see you again.
Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to check out more great content. You can find more information about me and my products at kristenbromley.com. Take care.